Are you in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and you think you're too old to learn a language? I'm a language specialist, I teach Spanish, and I hear this all the time. When I ask people, why do you think you're too old to learn a language? I usually hear three things. The first is because of memory decline. That's the idea that as we get older, our memory gets worse. And the second one is because of neuroplasticity. That's the idea that as we get older, it's harder for us to make connections, and therefore it's harder for us to learn new things. Can you relate to this? Let me know in the comments. The third reason why people say they're too old to learn a language is because of the critical period hypothesis. That was a study that was done in the late 50s, early 60s, and it said that if you haven't learned a language before puberty, it was going to be pure struggle town for you. It was going to be very hard for you to learn a language as an adult. But here's the good news. That idea has been debated by linguists since it came out over 70 years ago. So it's not the final word on the subject. So what do we do with this? We can't stop the clock, but we can change the way we think about learning a language as adults. What gives younger learners an edge over us? And how can we use some of those strategies to our advantage? Kids and adults definitely don't learn languages the same. And I think there are some takeaways from younger kids' experiences that you can use in your practice. Okay, here's the first advantage. When kids are learning languages in their homes, they're completely immersed. They hear mom, dad, big sister, big brother, the milkman, the postman. They hear everybody speaking in the target language all day long and in context. They're hearing the language in real life situations, and they're absorbing it naturally because it's all around them. So you can compare your Spanish learning experience with babies and kids. They're getting like titanium strength exposure to the language all day long, every single day. I live in Mexico in a city with a whole bunch of English speakers, and some of them have been here for decades, but they only can say a few Spanish words. If I had to guess, it's because they don't have a lot of exposure to Spanish besides hola, buenos días, gracias, y por favor. They're probably spending most of their time with English speakers. So they're not clocking the kind of concentrated listening practice that the babies are getting every day. So here's the first takeaway. Take notes from the youngins. Try to find ways to get daily, consistent practice every single day. You're not gonna get all day practice like the babies and the younger kids, but you can get some level of daily practice every day. 15 minutes is all you need. If you don't know where to start, I have a free ebook in the description that gives you some specific ideas on how you can get that practice from your couch. And here's another advantage the kids have over grown folks when it comes to learning languages. Kids are uninhibited. Believe me when I say this. My kindergartners, first graders, and second graders, when it came to making mistakes in Spanish, they could not find a solitary damn to give. They cared not. So they learned a lot more easily and a lot faster than my high school kids. And some adults are like high schoolers when it comes to learning languages. They're very self-conscious. They're very concerned about sounding crazy when they speak Spanish, saying the wrong things, the possibility of Spanish speakers laughing at them. Very self-conscious, and they have a lot of fears about speaking the language. Tell me in the comments, are you more like the uninhibited kindergartners, or are you more like the self-conscious high schoolers? Fears of making mistakes or worried about what other folks think could be putting the brakes on your Spanish progress. Most folks don't care about your Spanish mistakes like you do. Most people are just appreciative that you're trying to learn the language, and people are generally helpful in most places. So here's takeaway number 2. Be like the youngins. Experiment with the language. Make a whole bunch of mistakes and brush it off and keep it stepping. Challenge yourself by trying out new Spanish words. For example, every time you go to the bakery, you always say hola. Next time, say buenas tardes. The next day, say muy buenas. Try a different greeting every single day. The more you experiment and the more you practice, you'll get more confidence. When you make a mistake, take note of it and keep it pushing. Okay, here's the last advantage I want to talk about that the kids have over adult learners. When the kids are learning a language, they're learning in a playful way. The way I used to teach kindergartners, first graders, and second graders is completely different from the way I teach adults, okay? Because of course, it's age appropriate, right? When I taught kinder first and second, we did so many things. We did art projects, we sang songs, we played games, they did skits, I taught them Latin dance. So they were learning Spanish in a low pressure situation, right? And it was fun, it was enjoyable to them. And some of the schools I taught in didn't even give the little kids, grades. So it was really low pressure. So here's the third takeaway for you. Make your Spanish practice enjoyable. If what you're doing now to learn Spanish is boring or you're not enjoying it, or if the environment is stressful, then get up out of there with the quickness. Find a different approach, because if you're not enjoying it, it's going to be harder for you to stick with it. Like if you're learning Spanish right now on an app and you know that you learn better with that human interaction, a human to give you feedback like in a class, or if you're in a class and you feel like you're going to go absolutely nuts if you hear the word preterite or any other verb tense one more time, then you might do better in one of my conversation-based classes. More information in the description. The moral of the story is, if it's not working for you, if it's boring, if you're not enjoying the learning process, then switch it up. There are so many different approaches to learning a language today that you don't have to stick with the same old, same old. But the kids are not the only ones who have advantages in terms of language learning. You've got some advantages over the kids. Adults are more disciplined. They can better manage and structure their practice time and stick to it, hopefully. It's harder for kids to be self-disciplined. And you've got more life experience. You can spot connections and differences between your native language and Spanish really quickly, and that can help speed up your fluency. And adults are more self-aware about how they learn best, and they can quickly make adjustments. So if what you're doing right now to learn the language is not working for you, it might not be your age, it might be your approach. So feel free to switch it up. Grab that ebook in the description for some ideas. And some adults might be more self-motivated because they're learning the language for their careers or for travel. And those things can drive a person to be more focused. So are you still worried you're too old to learn a language? We can't change the fact that we're getting older every single day. So instead of focusing on those cognitive challenges that we might not be able to avoid, think about what makes language learning easier for kids. It has to be fun, consistent daily practice. If 15 minutes a day is all you have, then do that. Just make sure it's consistent. And work on your inhibitions and your fears. Focus on what you can control. And if it's not working, you can customize your learning experience to fit your needs. If this video made you go, then hit the like button and subscribe, and send this video to a friend who thinks they're too old to learn Spanish. Un abrazo fuerte y hasta el próximo.